Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. We have our good friend, Father Frank Pavone from Priest for Life with us, giving us an update on how we can protect the unborn. Father Frank, welcome again to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Terry, and with our great audience.
Amen. And you know, Father, before we start, I always love this statement. Never worry about who will be offended if you speak the truth. Worry about who will be misled, deceived, and destroyed if you don't speak the truth.
That's right.
And I'm thinking of the unborn babies. We've got to tell people the truth. And the truth is there's life in the womb.
That's
and
right.
That's why I call on you once a month to give us an update on how we can better protect the unborn. What's the latest in the sense of what's going on and what can we do to help protect those babies?
Well, two things come to mind. You know, I've been, I was just at a couple of state marches out in Arizona over the last couple of weeks. Arizona March for Life in California, the California March for Life in Sacramento, and then coming up on the Connecticut State March for Life. Now, the reason I mention these is that people need to be tuned in to what kind of marches and rallies are being held near them. Many of states, many cities, it might be just counties, and this is organized, by the way, by all kinds of different groups. Some of them have been doing it for decades. Others are just starting up now. States will have sometimes multiple marches headed by multiple groups. What matters is that we get out there and express our pro-life conviction publicly. It's not enough for it to be a private conviction. Think of Eucharistic processions or rosary processions, for example. You know, we already believe privately, or we go to mass, or we go to rosaries, but bringing it out onto the streets,
amen,
not only reminds others about these things that we believe in, it strengthens our own convictions about it. So getting involved in that, number one. And number two, there are big battles on the horizon. I want to mention the state of Ohio. Any listeners in Ohio, please be aware the pro-abortion forces are trying to put abortion into your state constitution. It doesn't belong there. It doesn't belong in any constitution, but that battle is on. South Dakota, you have a battle going on. Well, again, there's going to be, I think, Terry, about 11 states or so this year and next year. They're going to try to do what was already done in Michigan and California, these extreme policies. Be alert to that. And when local groups or your church mentions to you, hey, you have to sign this petition drive or you know, get out there and fight this ballot initiative, please pay attention to those things, because this is going to be right now a big part of the battle.
Right. And, you know, even in Utah, I understand the governor, Spencer Cox, plans to sign a pro-life law that could functionally eliminate abortion. Well, that's good news.
Oh, yes, that's right. And we've got the states going in opposite directions right now.
Well, what's the story in Michigan? I mean, it seems like they're really, they're like California in one sense. They want to make abortion kind of like abortion illegal like California. Is that true, that Michigan is really pushing that hard?
To make abortion, well, they did. They got this. You know, they got the wrong governor. Is what it boils down to. It's not that the people want this stuff.
No, the governor's horrible.
The governor is horrible, and no, this is what happens. You get the wrong people in office, and it has consequences. But they passed this in the midterm election just now. This proposal.
Yes.
And these things are very deceptive.
Yes.
We have got to focus on working through the legislative process, not ballot initiatives.
There you go.
Ballot initiatives. And we may have discussed this at some point in the past, but, you know, it's the reason we have the Electoral College when we vote for president, because otherwise all the elections would be won just by the populations of Los Angeles and New York City. You know, it sways the whole country. So similarly with these ballot initiatives, you can have most of the state voting the right way. And then you've got these big urban areas that, you know, the pro-aborts whip their people up to a frenzy, and it pulls the whole state in the wrong direction. The other thing is that ballot initiatives are not subject to the intense scrutiny that the legislative process subjects you to, with hearings and, you know, analysis and back and forth and questions and amendments. And you know, it's a much more thorough process to make sure people understand what they're voting for. All of this is very, very important to keep in mind.
Father, you talk about voting. I know this is shocking, but we're 2 years or less than 2 years from having another national election. Are you kidding me? It seems like, and let's just be honest. You and I are old guys. We remember 1980, and I remember when Ronald Reagan had an ad. He said, "Were you better off 4 years ago?" And obviously they weren't, and it was a very effective ad. I want to just say to the babies, were they better off with this last administration, the Trump administration? I'm not saying he's perfect, because nobody's perfect unless you're Jesus Christ or the Blessed Mother. But were the babies better off with a president who brought in 3 different Supreme Court judges? They voted for the pro-life efforts. That's how Roe versus Wade got overturned by this last administration. So I asked the question, were the babies better off, Father? What you say?
The babies are better off because of what happened in those 4 years, because a lot of times it has a delay factor, like you just said. Yeah. So President Trump put those 3 justices on the court. And by the way, he predicted that if he got to put 2 or 3 justices on the court, he predicted that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. He said it in October of 2016. Wow. And because it has that delay effect. Biden gets in, right, in 2021, but meanwhile, those justices were already hearing the case. Right. Of what was going to result in the reversal of Roe v. Wade. So we've got there's no question, under President Trump, much less money was going into the abortion industry. Yeah. Planned Parenthood lost their Title X money. They had to drop out of the program.
Exactly.
And internationally, we weren't exporting abortion or paying for it overseas. A lot of stuff was going on that was favorable to the unborn. There's a lot of executive policies that people don't notice them in the headlines, but behind the scenes, they protect the unborn in many different ways. The Title X was one example of that, just by executive authority to enforce the existing laws. The babies are helped. And also, who was better off too?
Tell me.
Doctors and nurses who don't want to do abortion.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So, for example, President Trump had a strong enforcement of conscience protection.
Exactly.
An entire office where people could complain. So there was this situation of this nurse in Vermont who didn't want to participate in an abortion, and the medical institution forced her to do so anyway, even though they knew she was objecting. Wow. And the President Trump's administration actually stepped in that situation and said to that institution, you have got to respect the conscience rights of this woman. We want you to work it out. They gave them plenty of time to work it out. And then when they didn't, they say, okay, we're going to give you financial penalties now.
Yes.
I mean, the Biden administration
just the opposite.
Completely reversed all that.
Just the opposite.
Yeah. So, yes, they were far better off under President Trump. They'll be far better off under a Republican administration that we can elect in 2024.
Father Frank, how can people support you? And tell us in a minute or two we have left about other ministries, and give us websites and how they can better protect the unborn.
Well, this question of what can I do to protect the unborn, we have a special website, 10stepstoendabortion.com.
Right.
And you could put either the word or the number 10. It'll go to the same place. And I'd like to point people there as very practical steps, 10 steps to endabortion.com. Take a look at that, everybody, and choose at least one of those things to deepen your pro-life involvement. As far as supporting us on that page or on our main page, endabortion.us, you'll see the donate button. You can support us that way. You can sign up for our emails. You can get involved in our prayer campaigns and use our resources. So endabortion.us is the overall website. And you'll also see there, as we always discuss, lots of healing opportunities and forgiveness for those that have had abortions.
Father, one of the questions, Joe Scheidler wrote a book, 99 Ways to Close an Abortion Clinic. And one of the ways he said is just praying in front of a clinic, someone being there praying and offering women alternatives. That cuts a large percentage of the babies. Now, Father Peter Irving over at Holy Innocents, just last Saturday, they saved 8 babies. The parish has a pro-life group. They're very supportive of Priests for Life. They saved 8 babies last Saturday. That's I got the numbers, like 1,740 babies since they started like 8-9 years ago, but they're there every weekend to pray and offer women alternatives. Do you agree that that's a very effective way to stop the killing of unborn babies?
Oh, it's I'll tell you what, it's guaranteed. You show up, you're going to save lives. You may or may not know about the life that was saved, but I'll tell you a story. I was standing one time with a sign of an aborted baby, and this young couple drives up in their car. They're about to turn into the driveway of the killing center, and they stopped right in the middle of the street, and they're looking at this sign. I'm standing like 3 feet away from the car, and their mouths drop open and their eyes open up, and they said, "I can't do that to my baby." Wow. And we actually brought them to the nearby pregnancy center right there on the spot. Janet was with me, Janet Morana. Yeah. And it was like, friends, that's how easy it was. We didn't even have to say anything. We just showed the sign and they stopped. "I can't do that to my baby." Friends, go out there to these places. You will save lives. You will, guaranteed.